Hello everyone, welcome to IVMUN 2022 training session. This is the third video in the series and we will be talking about how to utilize IVMUN resources effectively and some research strategies. So let's get started. 1. Read the handbook. Handbook provides delegates, especially newbies, with introductory info on how to perform in a Model UN conference. You should read carefully and understand the most important part, which is rules of procedure. For you to be able to keep track with the flow of the sessions and to get yourself involved in the discussion, a decent understanding of the rules of procedures is needed. Should you have any troubles getting to know these rules at first, don't hesitate to reach out to your chairs and fellow delegates. 2. Use guidebooks as starting points. So guidebook of each council provides background and what you need to know about your committee and its topics. You need to read the guidebooks to have an overall picture on how the topic is happening. However, you should not only use the guidebooks to prepare for the conference, but rather use it as a starting point for further research. A small tip, if you're confused and don't know where to start, read and answer questions from questions to consider to do further research, since such questions help to orient delegates. Also, try to develop your own questions that might be of interest to your country. 3. Background of the topic and possible solutions are must-read parts if you run short of time. If the conference is only a few days left, but you have just started researching with little info on your hand, take a look first at the background and possible solutions in the guidebooks provided to you. These two parts are important because the background shapes the way you approach the problem, while the solutions are always discussed in the council. Now, I will provide you with some research tips. First, thoroughly research the topic's problems and possible solutions, and place emphasis on the solutions that might fit your country's interest the most. Make sure that the solutions you propose will meet the goal of the Council. This can be done by outlining the possible impacts of your solution beforehand. Finally, you should support your solutions with appropriate statistical data. This would help enhance the feasibility of your solution and thus make it more convincing. These data can be retrieved from research papers of political institutions. 4. Know yourself, know your enemy. Last but not least, it would be of little use referring to the guidebooks without knowing which country you represent and what relation that country has to the problem. To know yourself, you should do some research on your representative country. Some research tips include: research thoroughly about your country's past actions and current initiatives regarding the problem. Know exactly what your national interests are, economically, socially, and politically, and plan your course of action around them. To do this, you can refer to some possible sources such as the official webpage of United Nations and of its bodies, the official webpages of national governments, and the research papers from political institutions. Next, to know your enemy, you should first strive to understand the international community, then pinpoint your allies and opponents. First, every country in the committee has had actions regarding the topics, so make sure that you know them deeply. Information regarding this can be found on the respective country government's websites. Next, you should identify other possible involving parties. This often includes other major international organizations and non-governmental organizations or NGOs. You should also make sure to understand the scope of power each individual and organization has, including that of your own committee. For example, the UN cannot interfere with a country's sovereignty no matter the opposition. Knowing the scope will help greatly in your sessions. After gaining knowledge on the general situation in the international community, You can start identifying your friends and foes. First, identify countries with similar or opposite stances, which should respectively be your allies and opponents. In turn, have appropriate cooperation methods or countermeasures for each country in the committee. Having said that, you should try your best to find the common ground between you and every other country, even if they are your opponents. The more allies you make, the more support your initiatives will receive. So that's the end of this training video, and I hope that it was informative for you. Thank you for listening.